Here we go!
And you can hear the Liverpool fans, E-I-N-E-O, we've won the cup. Tosha, Keegan, 1-0. Alan Kennedy, Ray Kennedy. This now could be interesting. Now Rush.
That's nice! That's lovely! Liverpool are European champions! Just sit back and enjoy this.
And mission impossible is accomplished.
Coutinho's done it again!
My name's Stephen Seaton. I have about 200 Liverpool match-worn football shirts. I've been collecting them for about 15 to 20 years. I've never felt like a collector. To me, dust collects on a sideboard somewhere. I feel more like a custodian because when you have this amount of stuff, it's not really me who owns it. It's owned by people who love the club. And these, the more I've had of them, they're not shirts as such, they're memories.
Well, football strip really gives part of the identity of a whole club. The colour that you play in is very, very important indeed. Liverpool are now known as the Red Men because they play in red, but that wasn't always the case. In fact, we actually played for the first 4 seasons in pale blue and white halves. Some people will say quarters, but that's part of the complicated back history of how Liverpool ended up being in blue and white. We're here in Anfield now, which was of course where Everton Football Club first played. And in fact, they played in so many different colours, it's quite hard to remember them all. They played in black with a red sash, they played in pink, they played in blue and white quarters, they came up with red with blue trim. Most importantly, from our perspective though, really, this is the kit that Liverpool Football Club retained.
In 1892, when the club was formed, it's well documented that it was formed in a bit of a hurry. We really didn't have much money. It was a club that was thrown together. So the myth goes, and it's fairly substantiated now through newspaper reports and whatever back then, that the kits were kind of left over by Everton. I don't think that it was that much of a priority because there were so many other things that were a priority to them.
They decided to go back into a store cupboard and dig out this blue and white half shirt. And for 4 seasons, Liverpool play in blue and white.
The last time we wore blue and white was actually in a playoff, and it was against West Brom, 1896. And the following season was the first time that we wore red.
Holding obviously was quite keen on this colour. And I think it's interesting that the moment Everton decided to adopt that darker royal blue that they're now so famous for, he jumped and took the red.
It was a bold step by Liverpool at the time. Everton were going to wear all blue. We had to have an alternative. Red stands out. It tends to be a colour you step away from. I wouldn't go out and buy myself a red shirt or a red jumper unless it was Christmas. And when you're on a football pitch, if you want to see that fella over the other side of the pitch, what better than to use a colour that is going to stand out against the crowd? Because don't forget, back then all the people were wearing overcoats, probably bland grey. You can't see nothing better than red.
We took on red because it's the municipal colours of the city. And really from then it's been red ever since.
It was a stroke of genius to take the city's name and then you start taking the city's colours. It has to be said, it does help really make a very powerful statement of identity for our club.
The first red shirt that we ever had was almost like a 60s mod shirt that you would have seen with button-down collars, and it had buttons all the way down the front. And really, it didn't deviate from that sort of style for many years.
We bought our shirts from a supplier in Liverpool called Frank Sugg, and he was just a guy who stocked shirts. So you needed a red shirt, he went there and bought 20 red shirts, and they were whichever one he happened to have in that season. Liverpool were notoriously frugal. You wore the shirt season on season.
Well, then there was slight variations on it. It's almost like a sailor's collar that you can imagine, where it kind of comes up and opens out. And what can't be established, but we think is true, is that originally had laces through it, and then maybe laces got lost, and that's why it became that shape.
On the whole, they were heavy cotton, almost rugby-style shirts.
And as the kit evolved through the war years, through Elijah Scott to Matt Busby, there really weren't many deviations.
Really, I think you could safely say, until not long after the Second World War, the shirts didn't change a huge amount.
Liverpool in 1950 decided to wear a badge on their shirts for the first time, and that was won in the FA Cup final against Arsenal.
This was a showpiece game, and you done special things for it.
They had a crest for the club, but it was the first time they were to put it on the shirt.
And one of those is on display in the museum, and it's that of Albert Stubbins. And there it is, his actual match-worn shirt.
Even though we played the 1950 FA Cup final with a badge on the shirt, it wasn't introduced onto the home shirts for normal league games.
They were very hesitant about it. Liverpool didn't actually adopt a badge permanently on their shirts to the 55-56 season.
That was the introduction of the famous kind of oval badge. There were two different shirts that were used in that first season with the badge on it. It was our first V-neck. There was also a coloured rugby shirt, which has become synonymous with the Billy Little era.
When you look at it, you just think of the likes of people like Billy Little and Ronnie Moran wearing this, and this brought us into the modern era, if you like, of Bill Shankly, but he was to make changes.
We played red top, white shorts, and white socks with a red top. But when Bill Shankly decided that we were going to get red shorts, this was revolutionary.
We get to 1964 and Liverpool are playing in the European Cup, this incredible, prestigious competition, due to welcome Anderlecht to Anfield. And Shankly just had an idea. What if you swap the white shorts for all red? Perhaps the team might look stronger, more powerful.
I remember it vividly. It was after lunch and Shank said to Big Ronnie, "Big Mac, come and we'll try these shorts. I've got these shorts on, red shorts." I was with him, like, and we go in the dressing room, big fella, puts the shorts on, and Shank said, "Come out on the pitch so I can see you." And he's sort of jogging around on the pitch. And I was standing there watching and laughing. My boss, oh, it looks good, Ronnie, makes you look enormous, son. Aye.
This was an experiment. Shankly was trying something out. We understand that at some point Ian St John actually suggested to Shankly, well, what if we go the next stage and have some red socks as well?
So why don't you go the whole hog? Real Madrid, all white. We could get red socks and go all red. So got the socks sent up, and that was when he saw Big Ronnie with that on. He decided that was it.
Liverpool had then adopted the all-red kit, and that has, from that moment onwards, become our classic home kit.
It got a great reception from everybody. The players bought into it right away, you know. It did give the feeling of strength of a team when you're all together. There was nothing breaking it up. It was just the business, the Reds. And fortunes at the club seemed to change along with it.
My favourite would always be the first one that I wore, which was when the badge changed to just the little liver bird. We had a round neck, which was just fantastic to me, but the quality of it was not great.
These kits, if they had got wet, would have been a ton weight.
The material was very heavy, and if it rained, the weight of those jerseys, you know, you're really lugging a heavy load around the pitch.
Imagine me, my skinny frame, in the rain. The shirts were just so heavy.
And off they go for the 1971 FA Cup final.
Shankly was convinced that the reason we lost the cup final in '71 was because of the shirts.
All our players were complaining because their shirts became so heavy and trying to carry them round, and this was just because of sweat.
Our shirts that day were long sleeved, they were quite tight fitting, and they were a very, very heavy material.
There's no sort of lightweight jerseys, these were just thick cotton.
You would have used the same material in a rugby shirt as you used in a football shirt.
They said it was like sacks on our back. When the sweat was coming through, it made the shirts that heavy. And that has to take a toll on you, particularly when the pitch itself is sapping the energy out of your legs.
It was a belting hot day down in Wembley, as it was. And really after that, the decision was made that we weren't going to be wearing that heavy a material in cup finals again. So in '74, the next FA Cup final, we went with a material called Airtex. Airtex at the time was the trendy material, and Umbro had thought that they'd split the atom by discovering what Airtex was. Airtex first came on the scene, I think, around 1970 for the World Cup finals in Mexico. It had perforations, almost like a tea bag. It was meant to let the heat out of your body, and the shirts were kind of breathable.
So they did learn. And in '74, did it help us in our performance? I'll say yes.
Highway, Liverpool showing them party pieces. He wasn't offside, Smith. Yes! Keegan second. And Newcastle were undressed.
And I don't think that we played in another cup final other than '84 in an Umbro shirt other than our text. The backroom staff, they were almost a first sports science department. So if they felt that they could get an extra 2% out of wearing an Urtex kit instead of a round neck collar that's going to go right up there, they're doing it.
The summer of 1979, Liverpool turn up with Hitachi written on our shirts. We became the very first league team to have a sponsor.
Because I was the captain of Liverpool Football Club, I went to the launch with Hitachi, and it was quite fascinating at the time because, like, this had never happened. And there was this lovely model who's going to be there, and she's sitting on my knee. It didn't go down too well with my girlfriend, by the way.
Now we think nothing of sponsorship on shirts and everywhere around the ground, and you have partners and so on and so on and so on. It all started with this one single move.
It was big news, even in those days, but it broke barriers.
On every level, this was a radical change. First of all, this is stripes.
We're very proud of our heritage in all red, and this started to change. Very much everybody was so against changing from the red. It was mutiny from the fans groups.
I don't want any weight on the red shirt. I wanted everything to look red.
Everyone was going on about the pinstripes, but as I recollect at the time, every suit that men wore were pinstripe. So I think it was a natural thing for Liverpool to say, let's put a pinstripe in.
But it also had a very silky quality to it. It didn't take long for people to fall in love with it. And now, you ask an awful lot of people who lived through that period, most of them will say that the red with the white pinstripe is the shirt. That is the one that everybody wants. The away kits are really fascinating, and in fact in some ways are probably the most interesting part of our kit.
In the very early days, the very first away kit never had any colour on it whatsoever. It was just like a shirt, a cotton shirt with a pocket.
One of the most intriguing ones, the 1905-106 away kit, where Liverpool won the First Division, and they wore an all-white kit but with this sort of red yoke. Their official photograph was unusually taken of them wearing the away kit, so I think they were obviously quite chuffed that they'd gone for something a bit different. Liverpool have been known to wear red and white stripes. There's even a case of them wearing black stripes. But really, if you wanted to talk about Liverpool Football Club's away kit for the vast majority of the 20th century, you're talking a white shirt and black shorts.
I like the white one even more than the red one. There was something about that. It made you look even better.
It was always, I thought, a strong colour. You know, when we're in the dressing room and you're putting that kit on, you're looking around at the players, put it on and you think, you know, we'll win today.
I don't know whether you ever felt like, you know, sort of Real Madrid, and we were probably as good as them. It was like a little bit of a status symbol. Does that sound a bit crazy, that although I was so proud wearing the red shirt, the white shirt was just great.
The problem Liverpool found was if your away shirt's in white, your home shirt's in red, and you're playing someone who has a combination of both, you're going to have to find something.
Many people will forget that Liverpool played against Accrington Stanley in the 50s wearing yellow, but I think probably one of the most exciting and intriguing games that Liverpool played in yellow was actually at Anfield against Ajax.
The travelling team was allowed to wear their own colours. I spoke to fans who were there that day, and I said the one thing they could remember of the game was this canary yellow kit at home.
The most iconic one probably for a lot of us in the TV age would have been Manchester United in '79 when we lost the semi-final of the FA Cup after a replay. Back then, because it was kind of a neutral game, if the kits clashed, both teams had to wear their away kits. Manchester United are playing in a white shirt with 3 black stripes, and we're playing in our all yellow strip.
Nowadays, everything's on social media instantly. I suspect nobody or a small number of people knew that Liverpool had this amazing new kit.
Most of the time you didn't get to sort of see the kit beforehand, so you're going and you're playing in a yellow shirt, and it was, wow.
There was no fussiness to it. Everything is pure yellow with just a red badge. It's became a really mythical strip, that, because it wasn't available to buy to the public, so the only time you ever would have saw it were photographs or footage of the game.
Obviously, reaction must have been sufficiently good that Liverpool by '82 decided to bring the yellow strip in, but with red pinstripes. Again, a sign of the club starting to push the boat a little further, perhaps to experiment, perhaps to push people's expectations a little bit.
When we originally had football kits, they were for playing in. That was it. There wasn't any sort of feeling that maybe we can mass produce these and sell these as fashion garments as such. But when you went away to places like Italy, like France, you came back with ideas, brands, different sorts of trainers, those type of things. And fashion was more becoming part of football culture as much as the shirts themselves. So when Liverpool went for grey, there was stories that actually it looked good with jeans.
As years have gone by, people have said, I love that kit. That was a great kit when you think about it. It took time to sink in because we were a little bit ahead of our time, perhaps. People used to question it. I wasn't sure about it, you know, in them days because it was different.
I'm still getting used to it because to me it should be a red home shirt, white away shirt, and if them two don't work, yellow.
Whenever we won it, we seemed to do very well. None other than the Arsenal first game of the season. We knew it was a difficult game. Arsenal were an excellent side. We went there and we played very well. We fully deserved a 2-1 win in this new kit. Like everything, it sets the stall, doesn't it?
I can see Aldo in the grey kit. I can see a few players in the grey kit. I can see Barnsley now in that silver kit. It probably was the stills and the posters on your wall that would ingrain the image, really. So whenever a certain kit would come up, I'd always associate with the player, and the other lads, like Aldo, they'd associate someone else.
I think Barnsley, because it was skin tight, it's just stuck to him. You know, it was like super glued to him, one with the short, because he was muscly, you know, he's strong. But it looked great on him. Alan Hansen looked elegant, Alan, because of the way he played and all that. You know. But Barnsley, it just looked the part on him.
Traditionalists like myself seen a green kit and went, no thanks. When I grew up, a green kit was a goalkeeper's kit.
Now, the quarters was obviously an attempt to refer back to 1892. It even had quite an old-fashioned sort of button collar as well.
We ended up wearing that kit for the cup final, 96. Obviously, we got beat 1-0, and I look at that kit, as nice as it is, you know, it's not a great memory.
Remember the cream one?
It was called a crew.
Ecru? What is Ecru?
I was a Reebok sponsor at the time, doing the adverts for the Reebok kits. Their campaign was like around the Beatles, so they set it up as the Fab Four. We had the wigs on. How Macca, Stan and Rob Jones got involved, I don't know. I think they were literally plucked as we were walking out for training one day. Can you come and do this? The yellow campaign was all around like the Harry Enfield and the Scousers sort of sketch. Everyone was in the cop with these curly wigs and the big moustaches, but all had the yellow kit on. The away kit and the third kit, usually there's a bit more license for the designers and stuff. They try and keep some kind of history, don't they? And they try and make something a little bit unique.
Liverpool over the last 20 years have really pushed the boat now, particularly, you know, with their away kit here. We think of the whites and the yellows and the greens, but then you begin to realise we're entering into an age where actually how wearable it is for the supporter perhaps is equally as important as how well it looks on the player.
kit business is a significant part of every club's business. In particular at Liverpool, given the size and scale of our fan base, it has become a big part of the revenue from the club. We work very closely with New Balance on the design of every kit.
My most iconic Liverpool shirt is the Hitachi V-neck. It's red, and looking at this new shirt, it's definitely a hark back to that.
What we've created here, it does, I think, try and pull that history and the tradition together with obviously going back to the Shankly Red and a nod to one of the strips that we were incredibly successful in the early 80s.
From a distance, sitting in the stand, if you half close your eyes, maybe you could imagine Douglas running around in it and Bob Paisley on the touchline, which would be no bad thing. So it's nice that maybe we can hark back to tradition, because that kit is, with the white V-neck and the red, is synonymous with success.